Chelsea 3, Astana 1. A very different game with a lot of debutants from Maresca's side. And we're going to just quickly go over how it sort of looked on paper from the get go, how the team set up in possession, a few individual performances that I was impressed with, and we'll go over a few different bits like that. Make sure to drop a like to help out the channel, and also let me know any questions you have from this game, and I will try to answer them before we get on to the Brentford preview, which should be out either tomorrow or Saturday morning ahead of the Sunday game against Brentford, because there's a quick turnover this week. Of course, this game Thursday at 3 p.m. UK time. It was around 8:30 in Kazakhstan. Then that group of players aren't going to arrive back until Friday morning at around 6 in the morning. So a lot of that group will not be part of the Sunday team. I think maybe you see you might not even see Jorgensen on the bench, but possibly a Jorgensen on the bench, and then maybe the odd, maybe one of Tosin or Disasi. But I don't expect to see many of those players on the bench even on Sunday for Brentford. Hence why a lot of them were left at home. But this was the team that Maresca went in with. You could set it up in a 4-3-3. You could have sort of Dewsbury Hall drop a bit deeper, and you could set it up in that 4-2-3-1 shape, however you wanted from the start. It doesn't really matter, because what tended to happen during this game is you had these two pushing into these half spaces you had Dewsbury Hall sort of had this lane, but he was sort of dropping in as this right centre mid. Carney, he was sort of playing as this side, but he was coming into this tip of the diamond area about here, and he had a bit of license to go both ways really. Raksaki was around here again, holding that 6. He's really good at circulating the ball. We're going to talk about him. Vega into here to create. We get rid of the lines now. That diamond shape that we've seen quite a few times this season with Disasi, Tosin, and Achimpong, who again was unbelievable as well, creating almost that 3-3-3-1, if you want to call it that, or the 3 diamond 3 along across the front. And I think that the midfield in general did really well. Raksaki, as I said, really good at sort of circulating the ball nicely. He was getting those passes off, and it was just simple. I think I can't remember the exact number. It's something like 88 out of 89. It was a 99% passing accuracy game for Raksaki. He just kept things ticking. He kept it simple. I did think in the first few minutes he was struggling to almost find those lanes for central access, but it really didn't take long for him to sort of pick up that, to sort of stay in an area, because rather than trying to arrive in that area, he was almost staying here and waiting for one of these guys to find that penetrative pass so that he could then play back out either way, and then he could sort of move the strings for Chelsea forwards. And I think he did it really well as the game went on. I think he got even better at it, and it was just really good to see him in there, because I do like Raksaki. I would have liked to see Dyer from the start in this position as well, though. But you have to give the props. Raksaki was brilliant, but Keanu Dyer is one I really want to watch out for, and I'm glad he got his debut. So we'll talk a little bit about him. Neto, as expected, he looked a cut above many on the pitch in that first half, especially I would say, purely because from a technical standpoint, we know what Neto's capable of. He got the assist with a little pass from here into Guiu, who came into this area of the pitch, who did really well for his first goal, sort of took it in himself, found a really nice composed finish into that bottom corner, so that was nice from Guiu. And then for the second goal, apparently it's not going down as a Guiu goal, apparently it's going down as an own goal still, which I think is crazy, but either way, Neto does really well, gets to the byline, pulls it back, and Guiu is a nuisance, and I don't care even if the goal doesn't go down as his. I love that sort of type of striker that is just a nuisance in the box and will get any sort of touch. Doesn't matter if it's instinctive, doesn't matter if it sort of ricochets, but it's purposeful, and he's attacking it with purpose, and he creates a mistake and it ends up in the back of the net. So that goal is from the sort of the force that he's putting within himself in that box. So that's brilliant from Guiu to get that second one. And then Vega from a corner, another just a nice goal to score, another set piece goal. Renato Vega giving us that height from set piece. I think it was Dewsbury Hall that whipped that one in for this assist. But yes, let's talk about the. I think the interesting thing to talk about really with this performance is those sort of youth starters. We can really quickly touch on. I think Tosin was really good. I think that we needed that type of experience from the back. I thought he was really helping to sort of move the ball. Oh, that's him. Move the ball in between the lines and just sort of dictate play, but also control the tempo. He wasn't going too quick. He was slowing it down when it needed to be slowed down, and he'd sort of put his foot on the ball and wait for people to get into position before he then started to orchestrate the passing. it was one of those games you didn't want it to go too fast. The surface is already slippy. It's not a nice surface to be playing on. We knew the team that we had out wasn't used to, it wasn't gelled, wasn't used to playing with each other. So I think Tosin did really well to sort of be the leader in that group, slow things down and orchestrate from the back. So it's worth mentioning. I thought he had a very good game. Carney, at times, I think we mentioned him as well. It's important to mention. I think he sort of seemed like he was trying a bit too much. Like he wasn't bad. He was making a few like really nice runs sort of on the blind side into these areas. And I do think he's just a really good carrier. In the second half, I think he picked up a little bit as well. But and I think Carney's a ridiculously good talent. So I do think something's gone on behind the scenes for him to be not getting more sort of chances in this team, because I do think his talent really suits Maresca in these pocket spaces as well. And he's a bit sort of multifaceted in terms of he can do a lot of the midfield roles. But it did seem today that he was trying a little bit too much in terms of trying to really state his claim, when he could have played a few simple passes. And it looked like he was getting very frustrated with a lot of players when the ball wasn't coming to him in the box as well. So I think he really wanted that sort of goal or assist to really just stamp his claim on the game, uh, which is hearsay. Vega was brilliant. The goal, just some really nice touches in and around the midfield. He's just elegant on the ball. I think really has that physicality. So I think that's good to talk about all of those guys. But we're going to talk about George and Achimpong. We've already spoke about Raksaki. Achimpong is just unbelievable. I've said it from the very get-go. I think he needs to be his minutes need to be fast-tracked for me, because I think when Wesley Fofana's not in the team, he's the perfect guy to have in and around, and that's not starting as a right centre back, as in here in a back. He would still be starting as the right back, but when he drifts into here, that's pretty much the same position that Fofana plays. The difference would be that then instead of inverting the right back into the middle, it would then have to be the left back, so it'd be Cucurella or Vega, whoever's playing on that side, that has to invert as they did today, so that he can become that right centre back. But without Fofana in the team, and if Gusto is being rested or is injured, whilst Reece James is out too, I think Colwell here, Achimpong here, and then say Badiashile to create that back line, and then you have Cucurella inverting. I think that's a really strong sort of way to negate a lot of what you'll lose. I think you get a lot from what you get from Fofana in terms of ability to carry the ball forwards on the outside of a block, athleticism, recovery speed. I think you get all of that with Chempong, and then we still get to get Cole in that position, and Cucurella can do the role in terms of inverting into the 10 or even into the middle. And we saw that even at the weekend against Tottenham when he did it as the 10 to sort of facilitate to get Enzo in the spaces he needed to be in. So that was great to see as well. And then lastly, George, the other starter, not his best day, but people were really sort of going in on his performance. Not hugely, I guess, but a bit of criticism for George's performance. I don't think he was that bad. I think he was trying things. He was direct. He had a really nice shot that was really close, sort of just over the bar in this sort of area early in the game. He had a few other chances. I think he could have had an assist. He had one where he got to the byline and put a really nice chip sort of towards the back stick, where he looked like he was going to drill it, and then he just lofted it, sort of chipped it over the goalkeeper, who was sort of coming out. If I put like a little dot, he was like around here, and then he sort of made that burst towards the near post, which is why George sort of changed it to a chipped lob towards the back post, which I really liked, that sort of variation from him. But yeah, like of course not his best game. Didn't end up with a goal or assist. But the surfaces weren't great either, and I think a lot of it comes down to that. I think in terms of accelerating and decelerating, I think you could see a lot of the times players were trying to sort of coordinate themselves. The corners of the pitch looked very icy, especially in the second half for Ampa. His side of the pitch looked really icy in the second half. So I think they were just sort of trying to like sort of decelerate, assess catch their foot in, and then sort of try and organise themselves to go at their man sort of from these areas. Then we can talk about the guys that come on. So we had Harvey Vale came on for Carney, I believe. He was playing in that sort of number 10 in these pockets. Ampa was for Neto on the right. So these were the first two changes. I think Vale was fairly sort of he didn't really get involved too much. Vale's the sort of the player. He's already had his Chelsea debut when he was a bit younger. I think it was under Tuchel maybe. He's had a few loans. It feels like he's the sort of player that isn't going to make it at Chelsea, but I do think he's a decent sort of level player. I think he'll end up being sort of a championship level player in the next few years, and sort of edging towards that end of his career where he becomes a consistent championship player that can then maybe make the jump a little bit later than most into sort of low end of Premier League. That would be my prediction. But I did like Vale, and I think he has some qualities on the ball for sure. Ampa, he was good. He was direct. end product was poor on the day, but again, like I sort of said about the corners of the pitch, weren't ideal sort of situation. Then you had Giyu came off for Shim, who's one of my favourite players in the academy. And then as well, Raksaki did come off, I think, yeah, for Dyer, who again, one of my favourite academy players. If I had to sort of highlight the ones that I've been sort of keeping really close eyes on lately, and saying that I think they have futures at the club, it is those four. I said it before the game. I'll say it after the game. Shim had some really nice turns. He had a shot that went just like way out. I think it looked like it was going for a throw at one point over here. But it was after a really nice turn and sort of like escaped at speed. So like he's really got that sort of ball manipulation around the box down. And I do think he's got that ability to really shift himself a yard. And he's shown how clinical he can be. So I can't wait for his sort of development and to see him come through because I'm very confident that he will. And then Keanu Dyer again didn't really get many touches on the ball. But I'm really, really confident about his ability to really sort of do what Raksaki was doing in terms of picking up the ball in these pockets, side to side, really just pass completion, high accuracy, then looking to play through the lines. He's sort of nifty on his feet, can manipulate the ball nicely himself if he needs to sort of spin one around the corner, either way. And he's really good at sort of being that deep line playmaker, but he's also tenacious at times. Like people sort of almost look over it because of the fact that he's quite small and quite slight in his build. But he gets about and he will put a challenge in. He's not afraid to. A bit like Angel Gomez in that respect, who's at Lille now from Manchester United in the past. He's sort of like that in the sense of he will still be aggressive despite his height, or a Billy Gilmore, I guess you could say. So that is all we really have to go and touch on from this game. This was the shape we set up in. And those are the performances that I really wanted to highlight. Man of the match for me is at Chempong for sure. I think he was really, really good. And Giyu maybe second, just again, 2 goals was a nuisance. So I'd say Giyu and at Chempong would be my 2 sort of stars of the show against Astana. Let me know who your man of the match was in that game. And make sure you're back here tomorrow, I believe it will be, as I said, for the Brentford preview.